Okay, when you picture Winston Churchill, what do you see? I bet it's this guy, right? Cigar in his mouth, the very picture of British defiance, the man who won World War II.
His words, they still give you chills. It's the perfect example of how to rally a nation when things look hopeless. This is the Churchill that we all know and remember, the leader who just would not back down.
But here's the thing, that iconic image of the wartime prime minister, that's really just one chapter in a much longer and frankly a much messier story. His path was anything but a straight line to the top.
To really get Churchill, you have to look beyond the victory speeches. You have to look at the moments of just catastrophic failure, the years he spent totally isolated, and the incredible comebacks that define his life long before he became that wartime leader.
So, let's rewind the clock. We're going to go back to the beginning, to his absolutely explosive entry into British politics right at the start of a new century.
I mean, just look at how fast he climbed. It's staggering. In a little over 10 years, he goes from being a rookie politician to running the most powerful navy on the planet. The speed of his rise was just astonishing.
One of his boldest moves early on was when he completely switched parties in 1904. He literally crossed the floor of Parliament to join the opposition. Now, that's a massive political gamble, but it put him right at the heart of the social reform movement, where he started pushing for things like workers' rights, a side of Churchill a lot of people just don't know about.
But the man who seemed like he could do no wrong, who seemed politically invincible, well, his career was about to be completely shattered by one single disastrous military campaign.
So, as the head of the Navy during World War I, Churchill championed this really bold plan to attack the Ottoman Empire through a strait called the Dardanelles. It was a huge gamble, but he thought it could break the terrible stalemate of the war.
To put it bluntly, the Gallipoli campaign was an absolute disaster. The number of casualties was horrifying, and the blame landed squarely on Churchill's shoulders. He was forced out of his job, his reputation was in tatters. He was so humiliated he actually left politics and went to fight as an officer in the trenches in France.
Now, after clawing his way back into politics, believe it or not, he was cast out again in the 1930s. He called these his wilderness years. Pretty much everyone in power was trying to appease Hitler. But Churchill was this lone voice, shouting from the sidelines, warning everyone that a storm was coming. And nobody listened.
But then, history proved him right. As all his dire predictions started coming true with terrifying speed, the political outcast suddenly became Britain's last and only hope.
Okay, so it's May 1940. The situation is desperate. The Nazis are storming across France, and the entire British army is trapped on the beaches at Dunkirk. The Prime Minister resigns, Churchill takes over, inheriting a total catastrophe. And his first test? The miracle of Dunkirk, rescuing over 300,000 soldiers against all odds. And he didn't sugarcoat it. In his very first speech, he basically told the nation, "I can't promise you anything easy. This is going to be a brutal, bloody fight for our very survival." And right after Dunkirk, when it looked like Britain was about to be invaded, he used his incredible speeches to build this iron will in the people, making it absolutely clear that surrendering to Hitler was just not an option. And this is where you see his genius. Right before the Battle of Britain, he didn't just ask people to defend themselves. He framed the whole struggle as this incredible moment in history, a chance for greatness that people would talk about for 1,000 years. So you'd think, okay, he leads his country from near defeat to total victory. That's got to guarantee his political future, right? Well, for Churchill, the story had one more unbelievable twist. Get this, the moment the war in Europe is won, the British public votes him out of office in a landslide. It turns out, after all the years of fighting, people wanted a new kind of country with big social changes, and they decided the great wartime hero wasn't the right guy to build that new world. And this really gets to the core of his legacy today. Churchill was a man of just massive contradictions. We celebrate him as the guy who saved democracy, but he was also a die-hard imperialist. He was an early social reformer who later fought against striking workers. It's a constant debate between these two very different sides of the same person. So in the end, Churchill leaves us with a really tough question. How do we remember someone who had these monumental achievements, but also had these deep, undeniable flaws? His story isn't just about the past. It really challenges how we think about our heroes today.
For more epic history, don't forget to like and subscribe.